Hello everyone, and welcome to the third part and final part of this Windows 11 trilogy that I've been doing. In this part, I'm going to be talking about some stuff and basically giving my final thoughts on the whole thing. So let's take a look. Alright, so here is Windows 11. This is the logon screen. Not changed since Windows 10, yet at least. And I've made some of my opinions known about this. There are some parts I like about this and other parts I don't like about this. The start menu, I'm going to be quite depressed when it comes to the fact that the live tiles from Windows 10 are going to go away completely now. But hey, you can rearrange them at least, so that's something good. And you can still pin stuff, so that's an option. I would still prefer the live tiles though, in my own personal opinion. And I've researched quite a bit about Windows 10, and there's still probably going to be stuff that I'm going to be missing out as I talk about this, so I would ask everyone that if you care to, I would love to hear your own opinions about Windows 11 and what you think Microsoft should change in the future. So first off, there are some features that have been changed, and to be quite honest with you, the taskbar in Windows 11 it's sort of just been taken straight off. It seems this way, at least, to be taken straight from Windows 10X. It's limited in its feature set. But yeah, one thing you probably noticed as well, I did actually install VMware tools onto this virtual machine, and now you can see the rounded edges of the windows. Don't know if that was due to an update or something like that, but it kind of reminds me of the Windows Vista thing. Somewhat, because if you don't have certain drivers installed, or you have baseline drivers installed, certain features within Windows ever since Windows Vista won't work properly. Like transparency features in Windows 7 and 8. The Windows Vista and 7. I'm not too sure about Windows 8. I'm pretty sure transparency features were default. They were visible because there was less system requirements used to get the transparency to work. But yeah, with the addition of installing drivers, which is done through VMware tools, you've got the rounded windows, which go away. Which, adds me to the next point, the rounded corners. I don't know how I feel about it. I did say in the last time that I did actually like them, but if they're trying to do this to imitate Mac OS, but I do like the rounded corners, but it does kind of remind me of Windows 7 and Vista, because they had both those operating systems had rounded edges in the corners, rounded borders, but even then they were bordered too. That's an interesting fact. Let's go back into personalization, because why can you? And that's been disabled because it's not the proper taskbar even. Luckily, I do think this is kind of somewhat hatched together, but meh. But hey, at least it works somewhat, and I like it somewhat. When I say this, as I said, I like the icons, although they're kind of Linux-like. I've said this many times, and it's probably going to get boring and repetitive when I say this. There are a few critiques though I have about Windows 11. First things first. I recently learned that Windows 11 will not allow older devices and to have this installed. Also, since Windows 10 version, was it 20H1 I think it was, Microsoft stopped issuing a 32-bit version of Windows 10. The trend is still going with Windows 11. There's no 32-bit version available. And I would say yet, but based on the trend going on right now, I'm probably saying it's never going to happen at all. This is a problem because I personally have two Windows 10 tablets that, although they're 64-bit processors, they're quite light on, they're quite low on the user spectrum. So the operating system by default is Windows 10 32-bit, and they work fine with that. That's going to cause a problem in the future, because if people have 32-bit operating systems, or they've got cheap Windows laptops, that's going to cause a lot of e-waste. And call me woke or whatever you want to, but I have a real problem with e-waste. If you can reuse a computer, why does Microsoft not allow that? I mean, to be fair, there's been a lot of people recently have said that this may actually encourage more Linux use, more Linux people to come around, or people to move on to Linux. There's quite a lot of distros, and they've even showcased some of them on this series. But to me, that is really bothersome, because there's people that aren't familiar with Linux who don't even know. Like, when Windows 11 becomes standard next year, people are going to get a pop-up on their machine saying you cannot upgrade to Windows 11, you have to get a new computer, kind of thing. Probably not verbatim, that's what I'm going to say. It's probably going to say sort of along the lines of your computer is too old. And it's going to force people to go and get a new computer, which is, again, I can't beat this around the bush. I can't beat around the bush when I say this. I am against e-waste, electronic waste, and this is going to encourage that. If my computer is not going to be allowed even to run Windows 11, that's going to be a bad sign, because personally, for one thing, I cannot afford a computer, and as far as I'm concerned, this computer that I'm using to record this video with right now is dealing with 2 layers of Windows right now, Windows 10 and Windows 11 virtual machine. If my computer cannot handle Windows 11 next year, oh, there's going to be worse. I'm not even kidding. Another problem I've got with Windows 11, oh nice screensaver. Another problem I've got with Windows 11 is, out of the box, you are forced to use your Microsoft account without. That's basically your email address to start to basically set the OS up. Now, as I've showed during the first part, there is a workaround where you can actually install it if you've not got an internet connection. That is a good thing. But why not make it default? Why not just make it default? It's one thing to have a nice new coat of paint kind of thing, and as I say, this Windows 11 does it kind of like botched together in a way, where sort of just the taskbar's being just plopped in here. It's not right taskbar, but it's too big, and I don't like the icons. Please, Microsoft, please re-implement banner-like taskbar buttons. I'm a bit of an old-fashioned Windows user. I prefer to have the taskbar buttons as with text on them, like full-blown buttons, not just icons like this. If I wanted this, I would get a Linux distro with a dock on it, or I would get Mac OS. I would get an Apple computer. I would get a Mac computer. Another thing I don't like about the thing being centered. Why is it centered? It's a little bit distracting to me. It is a little bit disorientating to me. If I wanted to use an Apple computer, I would buy an Apple computer. I don't want the taskbar centered. Good thing that there's a setting to switch this around, but other than that, I really do want to kick up a fuss about that, because I don't like that feature. And also, I did try to try again with the news feed. There's a lot of features that just won't work because the internet's not connected properly. And every now and then I keep getting pop-ups saying I need to get to the internet kind of thing, and nothing I'm not too keen on, but I'll bear it. One thing I'm really going to miss is the Windows 10 start menu with the live tiles kind of thing. I've been anticipating, and basically I've been in the feedback hub basically talking about how I want the colours of the live tiles to come back. But Microsoft got other ideas, of course. But what do you expect? I do respect that a lot of people did not like the live tiles on Windows 10. But I was unfortunately one of those people who preferred that feature, because if you haven't seen my desktop, all of my icons are in the start menu. I've got no icons on my desktop. So that's how I prefer to use my computer. But now, that's completely changed. Well, I say icons, but icons besides these, of course. Default icons, I've just got the recycled bin, my computer, and my folder icon. And sometimes the control panel, depending on what user account I'm on. I've got 2 user accounts on my computer. But yeah, this is mostly what my desktop looks like. But the moment you open my start menu, it's exploding with icons. So that's one thing that I really don't like, is the system requirements mean that it's going to be restrictive on what you can run Windows 11 on. There's no 32-bit version, so there's going to be a lot of computers left out of this. Which is annoying because, as I say, I have got 2 Windows 10 tablets who work just fine with 32-bit versions of Windows, but do not handle 64-bit versions too well. I know this, but I've tried it and I've had to revert back. and then the user account sign and all that kind of stuff. Now I want to get onto some stuff that people have said about this already, and how Windows 11 is basically just Windows 10 with a coat of paint on it. That would be a fair criticism to make, and I'm not going to take that away from people. I am going to say, however, that if you feel this way, just remember that this has been the trend ever since Windows 3.1. I'm not even kidding. The base code for Windows 3.1 was used to build Windows NT 4.0, and then that code was used to build Windows 5.0, which it became Windows 2000. Windows 2000 became Windows XP, Windows XP became Windows Vista, and then Windows Vista became Windows 7. Now I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, that I do actually believe Windows 7 was actually nabbed from Windows XP source code, but I could be wrong on that. It was rebuilt from the ground up compared to Windows Vista, but I could be, as I said, I could be wrong on that. The base code for Windows 7 was used to build Windows 8, and the base code for Windows 8 was used to build Windows 8.1, and they cancelled Windows 9, which eventually evolved into Windows 10. And there's the same thing for Windows 11. So yeah, even though it does seem like a coat of paint, there's a lot of other stuff under the hood that I have actually read up upon. Like there's TPM 2.0, which I do believe is actually a security mechanic within the kernel. It's supposed to be higher security improvements, which are supposed to be helped in Microsoft's words by the fact that you have to use an online account, which is, again, that personally annoys me. I don't think I've already mentioned that, but that does personally annoy me. I don't really think, and another thing I don't like about Microsoft right now is why are they trying to copy? Stop trying to copy trends, for God's sake. Be original. The only thing that was original that I found with Windows 8 was the square-shaped live tiles. If I go into Start menu, and if I go to lock my computer, round profile pictures, you see that with YouTube, you see that with all Google products. The square shaped thing suited me just fine. It was unique, it was different. Why did companies have to copy each other? Why? Minimalism and all sorts. Boring. As one news article once said, why does Microsoft have to, if one organisation, say Microsoft is a song, I'm talking about the organisation, not just Windows itself. If Microsoft is a jazz band, why does Apple have to be a jazz band? Why can it not be a hip hop band? Or vice versa? Why can't Apple be a jazz band, and why can't Windows be a hip hop band or a pop band? Why do all music artists have to copy the same trend going on? Why do trends have to exist in the first place? That's what I'm trying to ask. Why can't Microsoft just keep things unique to themselves? No standard icons in the taskbar. It's not a Mac OS dock. I don't know if I've already touched on this, but I prefer, one thing that you notice here, if I go into taskbar settings, I cannot disable or enable long taskbar buttons. And I am unfortunately one of those people who prefer the classic style of using Windows with the long taskbar buttons. Hate me all you like, but I prefer that feature, and screw you. And so yeah, that's one thing that I don't like about Windows 10, the system requirements and all sorts. I may touch on some other stuff in a later thing, but one thing I will touch on finally, to just not make this episode too long, is the principle of back in 2014 when Windows 10 first came out, it was 2015, sorry, was that Windows 10 was meant to be the last version of Windows with basically a brand label. It wasn't going to be the last version of Windows in existence, no, but it's going to be the last version of Windows with a moniker on it. Moniker basically meaning the surname of the Windows product. So in this case, Windows XP, Windows Vista, 7, 8, 10. Those are the monikers. So that was basically what people were talking about back then when it was talking about how Microsoft was saying that Windows was going to be the quote-unquote last version of Windows. And then it'd just be a Mac OS based system, or even just an Android based system of continual updates It'll be a one proper version of Windows. Everyone will get it every year, be updated to new versions, and basically the build number will probably be the new name for the version of Windows that you get. So it'll be Windows build 22H30 or something. But no, that has changed. Now, I've got my own synopsis on this, and I could be completely wrong about this. I've heard some other opinions on this. But I frankly do believe, and to be quite honest with you, Microsoft is never... Google's the same. These two companies, many of the Western multinational, multi-billion-dollar companies, they never keep promises on almost anything, and there's many cases where they will not work hard or be patient with anything that they involve themselves with. Microsoft, they had Windows Phone. This is an example. They had Mixer as well. These are two examples of failed products that they've had that they didn't spend enough work and time on to make them good or better. They just gave up because they weren't giving them any money. So I was just like, what's the point? Mixer, it went the same way as Windows Phone. It got turned over, and Facebook bought over the rights to the platform, kind of thing, and it's history. Microsoft, Google, these companies are never good at keeping their promises. So let me just get that clear. Yes, companies do not always keep their promises. They never stick to things they initially say. 5 years from now, there's going to be something that is said now by a corporation. It could be Sony, it could be any Western company. They will make a statement on something, and 5 years down the line, they have a completely different take on it. It's mostly just where the money goes, Sony recently just came out and says that they support multi-platform play. Even before that, they were blocking third-party users from playing multi-playing with people who were on the PlayStation platform. You could only play with people on the PlayStation platform. That was all they could do. Now, Sony have now changed their stance on that, and the CEO have also changed his stance on retro gaming. Interestingly enough. And I do think that this is somewhat the same way for Windows 10. Another thing I do kind of think of was, I do personally think that the idea behind Windows 10 being the final version of Windows was going to be true. However, and I'm not going to say that Windows 11 is not going to be the same way as Windows 10 when it comes to this. As great as Windows 10 is in its own way, there are a few aspects which even people watching this are going to be screaming at me right now saying, what about this feature, what about that feature, what about that feature? Shh, calm down. I'll get to that. Windows 10 ever since it came out has either been a buggy mess, especially back in the build 10.240. And that was the Windows 10 build from back when it first launched. Build 10.240 I think it was. Oof, that was a buggy mess. Ever since then, every time an update came out, there's been news articles after news articles after news articles basically saying how this latest Windows update has caused problems. There were situations where one update would fix something, would add a new feature that people didn't either like or detest or whatever. They would also bring in features that people didn't care about, or they would, in the process of fixing one bug, they would introduce a new bug. And it's been near constant since 2015. I keep saying 2014, but I keep meaning 2015, that's when Windows 10 came out. So, yeah, there's a principle there, and I do kind of think that the reason why Microsoft are now changing their mind on that whole system and bringing out Windows 11 is probably just for a brand refresh. Now, yes, people are claiming that Windows 11 is basically just Windows 10 with a coat of paint, with a fresh coat of paint, that is. And yeah, that's a fair criticism. I'm not going to take that away from anyone. But I do also think that there's another principle behind it, and that's probably just for a brand refresh. It's a new product in its own way. Microsoft has dealt with a lot to do with it, and they're, it seems shiny, it seems new icons, it's got new system sounds. To me, it's a new product, as much as it's going to get ridiculed out the gate, I think, in some cases, because of the criticisms I've just gave it, such as the limitations on system resources it will happily run on. The lack of a 32-bit version. Yeah, there are criticisms there which just angers me deeply when it comes to Microsoft. Why would you do this? But that's just one of those things. I do kind of think that Windows 11 is just one of those things. It's a brand refresh. It's trying something new. It's something. Listen, I'm trying to think about what Microsoft's thinking about this right now. It's something new. It's something different. It's a brand refresh. It's a way to maybe start again. It's maybe what they're thinking. And I'm not saying that Windows 11 won't end up the same way as Windows 10 in some cases, where a new update will come up and there'll be bug after bug after bug. There'll be a new feature introduced that people will rant and rave about, hating and all sorts. That's going to happen. Microsoft, ever since the first version of Windows 10 came out, it's been nothing but that. Even since Windows 8 even. One thing I liked, it's very ironic because I was initially a hater of the start screen. I loved Windows Phone, wasn't too keen on the start screen. I eventually evolved into loving it, and I was still loving it by the time Windows 10 came out. I wasn't too keen on the Windows 10 start menu, so I stuck to Windows 8 for a little bit. Then I had to get my computer upgraded, and the upgraded components would not work with Windows 10, with Windows 8. Microsoft bottlenecked Windows 8 to work on modern hardware, which was just fun. Thanks, Microsoft. And yes, it's the same way for Windows 11, I think. New hardware will probably not run on it. If you try to install Windows 10 on Windows 11 hardware, it will probably block it out. I can smell it from a mile away, and I am literally sitting here chomping at the bit to the day I'm going to be transitioning over to Linux because I'm giving up on Windows. Sorry, Microsoft. That's my opinion on that. But for the most part, I don't think I'm going to touch Windows 11 for a long while. I'm going to keep it as a virtual machine. I don't see myself upgrading it anytime soon. I don't need it, and if the time comes where Windows 10 is no longer feasible to use because Microsoft is giving up support on it or whatever, it's time to transition over to Linux. There's a lot of stuff that works on there, and I can definitely use mine. Emulation, if there's stuff that I need to use that requires Windows, I will probably consider the odd one or two Windows laptops, but for the most part my stuff will probably evolve over to being a Linux person. That being said, that's just my personal opinion, and as I say, my opinions could change over time. Windows could change over time, Microsoft could change what they do with it, especially due to criticism, because the money's where the mouth is, you know? If more enough people are complaining about features, Microsoft will probably change them. So it's new. It's not even out yet. It's not even properly released to the public, to you. It was just been leaked to the public internally. So it's still got quite a long while to go yet. But that's just my opinions on Windows 11. We'll see later down the line what will happen about it. But for now, guys, I hope you enjoyed listening to this. I didn't show too much in this episode, but if you enjoyed this, please remember to subscribe to the channel and like this video if you enjoyed it. Let me know your own personal opinions of Windows 11 down below in the comment section. I would love to hear what you have to say about this. And any opinions you've got about my opinions or what I've said about this, please let me know about that as well. I'd love to listen to what you have to say. That being said, guys, I am Ricky. Thanks for watching Exploring Operating Systems, and thanks for enjoying this 3-part trilogy. And I do acknowledge it's a little bit too long, but as I say, thanks for listening. That being said, guys, I'll see you all later. Take care and goodbye.